home educators in the UK so far, and that is at early November 2009, don't seem to have been able to do much to actually halt the flow of Graham Badman and his supporters' reports. In fact, as things stand at the moment, it is chugging merrily ahead, and every kind of spanner that perhaps home educators have attempted to put in Mr. Badman's works, either seriously or even jokingly, as some things on the internet can be found quite funny, again seem to have been able to do little to halt Badman's train. Now, there are some things here. This is a booklet about the Human Rights Act 1998. Now, this actual booklet is a training manual from the Citizens Advice Bureau, and a few years ago I was actually a volunteer at a Citizens Advice Bureau, and volunteers have to go through a very, very lengthy training process where they are given work booklets to work through on lots and lots of different subjects, and they have to work through all these, and then they have to do a test on them. Really what happens is that the CAB doesn't let a lot of them take these tests because if they took the test, then they may go and get work somewhere else, and then they wouldn't be volunteers anymore, but that really is another story. However, these are very, very helpful, and there is actually inside the Citizens Advice Bureau a mine of very, very interesting information for anybody that is actually interested, although these days Citizens Advice Bureau seem to deal mainly with benefit type queries or housing queries, but in actual fact people are trained in a lot more things than that. And this is about the Human Rights Act, and this is actually, as I said, a training manual from the Citizens Advice Bureau for its trainees. So one would presume that everything in here is accurate. And obviously people will be aware of the Human Rights Act and how it has been made into a little bit of a joke in some areas in the UK by perhaps people trying to put it down and trying to say that, you know, people don't actually have a right to use the Human Rights Act, and that really it's been scoffed at sometimes by judges. There's very, very few solicitors actually are competent in the UK with using the Human Rights Act. There is just a handful of solicitors that deal specifically in human rights, and it may be necessary, if you wanted to see a human rights solicitor, you may have to travel quite away from your home, because, you know, many areas don't actually have a genuine solicitor that does deal in human rights, and it's quite an extensive area of law. The main ones that are used where children are concerned are things like Article 6, the right to a fair trial, and also Article 8, which is the right to privacy and family life. Now, obviously, there's a lot of legislation that goes with this. Now, another little point is that there's also Article 14, which is freedom from discrimination in the enjoyment of convention rights. Now, this has to be linked to one of the other right, but supposing that you used Article 6 and 8 against a local authority, if they're, say, going to take legal proceedings against yourself, say over a child going to school, and maybe they were, looking into your family life, you could use Article 14 as well as these other articles, as local authorities are very well aware of Article 6 and 8. And there is another article, which is basically Article 3, and it's freedom from torture, inhuman and degrading treatment and punishment. But this actually comes right down to the street level of somebody insulting you, belittling you, humiliating you. And that could be maybe a local authority humiliating you, or belittling you, or making you as a human being feel bad about yourself or anything else. And there are another couple of things here that may be interesting as well, and one of these is the fact that under British law, the welfare of the child is paramount. I'm actually quoting from this booklet. The Convention requires all the parties' rights to be respected. And this is going to be kind of, what they're really kind of saying is that although in British law the rights of the child are put first, under the Convention, the human rights laws, it's every party is absolutely equal, and that means that your rights as a parent are completely and utterly equal to those of your children. Now, that means that even under British law, that in some cases your rights will not be respected above what is perceived by others, or maybe authorities other than yourself, as what is good for the child. Under European law, your rights have to be respected absolutely equally to those of your child, so that your child and your rights are actually on a par with each other, and that the child's rights are not actually greater than your rights under European law, than the parents' rights. Now, that can perhaps sometimes be a good thing or a bad thing, but it is certainly the law, and obviously it is in this booklet from the Citizens Advice Bureau, and that is actually what it does say there. And there's something else here. Protocol 1, Article 2 of the Human Rights Act. So this is under the right to education. And it says, no one should be denied the right to education, and the state should respect parents' rights to ensure that teaching is in accordance with the parents' beliefs. Now, that actually means that whatever belief you hold, that religious belief, that you have a right to uphold that religion, and actually you do have a right to bring your child up in that religion too, and that someone else has actually got to respect your religion and your beliefs. And obviously there are many mainstream beliefs where this could be used, but there's also the less mainstream but still very popular beliefs of such things as paganism or Wiccan, or many other beliefs that also are included, and that a person's beliefs do have to be respected, because obviously anything else would be religious discrimination. And really that's a very, very brief overview, but it's well worth looking into the Human Rights Act. Unfortunately, usually solicitors, a normal solicitor probably will not know so much about it, and they often do, to be quite honest with you, get it wrong, because they don't actually know always as much as somebody who has actually been trained in human rights and how the Human Rights Act works. So it's a good idea, if you're looking into this, to look around or even do it for yourself.